So we have these closets in our basement that don't have any shelves. And it would be nice if they had some shelves. So that's what I like to do, is to build some platforms basically to put things on in here. It looks like at some point they had shelves because there are runners that run along the sides of the closet. I don't know where the shelves went. So my first thought would be to just lay in sheets of plywood, and that would work, but I think they're going to be really flexible if I do that. So my thought is to take that plywood and cut it into strips, and then turn those strips on edge so that you get a deeper section for the shelves, so it's much more rigid, and that'll allow for airflow through the shelves. So that's what we'll do.
What I would really like to do is to get the 4 shelves out of 1 sheet of plywood. So I got a single sheet of plywood to make the 4 shelves out of. I figured if I cut the strips just a little more than 2.5 inches wide, I could get 9 strips per shelf. So 4 sets of 9 strips. This is one of the longest parts of this project, was cutting all of these strips. It really helped having the 4x8 sheet cut in half, as it was much easier to cut the strips on the table saw when they were smaller pieces. And in the 2 closets, the closet on the left, as you're facing them, is 48 inches wide, and the closet on the right is 47 inches wide. So it meant I was able to have 1/2 cut to 48 and 1/2 cut to 47, so that my strips would work out to the right length as they were being cut. But this went pretty fast, cutting the strips. Well, the strips are done. Then I wanted to make the runners on each side to hold the strips up. So I found some 2x4s that I had to use for the runners. I jointed and planed the pieces for the runners. And I face planed the pieces for the runners. And I also edge planed, if that's a term. I turned the pieces on edge and then ran them through the planer to get them all to the same width, which worked with some help pushing the piece through. Then I laid out where the strips would fall on the runners. And since the runners are 32 inches long, and I have 9 strips, which makes 8 spaces, that means each space is 4 inches, so it worked out nicely. So I cut slots for each runner to fall into with the radial arm saw. And this worked, but because they were so deep, it was a little grabby with the blade. So it took some finesse to make it work, but it worked fine. And then I could start putting things together.
What I'd like to do is cut a little notch out of the corner of these. So that'll mean that they'll sit flush with the side piece.
I could lay out all of the strips for one shelf at one time and clamp them together and then run the dado blade through the corner to get the corner cut off. For the runners, I wanted to pre-drill the holes that I would use for screws to hold the runners in place. Now to start installing this in the basement, there were a few little things that were sticking out on the sides of the closets that I wanted to trim off. And once this was done, I could start putting the runners up. I found in a few spots there were places where I had to modify the runners to make them fit nicely against the sides of the closet. You can see here where this little notch has been cut out, how that fits with the side of the closet and the door jamb. I can put one screw in and then level the piece and put in the other screws. For most of these I had 3 screws on each side, and then for some of them I could only do 2. Then I could start putting in the strips into the runners. For the end strip, I would just put a screw in through the strip just to keep it from falling off. I really wanted to do a weight test of the shelf, mostly just to demonstrate its strength.
Okay, well, there's close to 500 pounds. And there's 500 pounds. And it's absolutely solid.
Then I could put in the upper shelves. You can see here more how they went in, where they were a little tight on some of the ends. And as it turned out, the sides of the closets weren't parallel, so I ended up having to do a lot of fussy cutting to get the lengths right. Many of them ended up a little short, but they work fine. And there we have it. It looks all nice and neat now, but I'm sure that'll change. Thanks for watching.